Starfield. This is a game that has been in development for a very long time, and up until recently, we've only had a few cryptic gameplay trailers and some information about what the game is actually going to be. But recently, there was a developer showcase breaking down all the features and what we can actually expect from Starfield, and I gotta say, I am pretty freaking excited. And I know what you're thinking. Deadly. Remember Fallout 76? It was kind of a dumpster fire. Remember Fallout 4? Well, I actually didn't mind Fallout 4 as much as some of the other people out there, but Fallout 76 was certainly a big miss for Bethesda and Todd Howard, and honestly, you know what? It is what it is. Sometimes you swing and you miss, and Fallout 76 was a massive miss, but what we've recently seen with the Starfield Developer Showcase has just made me so excited because it's literally the game that I have been waiting for, I feel like, for the last 15 years. Especially whenever they announced No Man's Sky. This is kind of the game that I wanted from No Man's Sky, minus the multiplayer features. And I know No Man's Sky has definitely got better over the years, and Sean Murray and the development team have really pushed out a lot of free content, acknowledged their mistakes, put their heads down, and actually delivered a really awesome space experience. But I think Starfield is going to be taking some of the ideas of what they wanted to do with space exploration and actually turn it into a fully fledged RPG game, taking some of the best elements from some previous games like Skyrim and Fallout, and then also taking massive inspiration, there's no denying that, from No Man's Sky, maybe even taking a look at some of the things that they've done really well, some of the things that have been a bit on the weaker side, and expanding on it and giving it its own Bethesda flavor. Now, in terms of sheer scale, No Man's Sky has millions, if not billions, of planets that players can go and explore, and that is done because of mathematics and procedural generation, where Starfield is only going to have 1,000 planets, but those 1,000 planets may feel a bit more unique from each other, and with the potential of some handcrafted areas that the developers have actually worked on themselves to give them more of a unique feel. There is certainly something to be said about going to the same number of preset biomes and worlds, like 20 or 30, that are spread out over millions of different stars and planets, whereas you could potentially have 1,000 worlds that are far more unique from each other, giving the player more sense of like wonder and exploration, and actually encouraging people to go out there and try to find something new and creative. No Man's Sky can be like that to a certain degree, but there's going to be the same types of trade outposts, the same types of space stations, similar types of biomes with similar resources, and although there are some randomness to the creatures and some of the flora, once you've played about 100 or 200 hours of No Man's Sky, you've kind of seen it all, unless you find something extremely rare, and in my opinion, it is that. It's very rare. Now, from here on out, I will be still making a number of comparisons to No Man's Sky because it is very clear that Bethesda has taken a look at that game and is trying to work around the feature set and try to create something unique for themselves. But, for example, in No Man's Sky, whenever you go to a planet, you can basically go from space down through the atmosphere and land pretty fast, where in Starfield you will pick a spot on the planetary surface and the ship will automatically fly down and land. So you'll be able to freely fly in space, but you won't actually be able to transition between atmosphere and planetary surface, and then also from atmosphere to outposts. And I'm sure that is done for a variety of reasons, mainly optimization and terrain generation. But to many people who play games like Star Citizen and No Man's Sky that are used to this type of technology, burning through the atmosphere and picking and choosing exactly where they want to land because they visually see a cool plateau or something like that, yeah, that's going to be a bit of an L. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe it's not going to be as big of a deal as people are making it out to be, but honestly, it would have been nice to see that, but understandably, it's probably a technological hurdle, to say the least. One thing that makes me really excited about the game, though, is when you're in space, the amount of interactions that you will have and the choice. You're getting that Fallout level player choice, but in a game when you're in outer space where you can choose to be the pirate, choose to be the hero. You could board other people's ships and engage in first-person combat, or you can simply request to dock and have a conversation with them in a Fallout and Skyrim way with multiple dialogue choices, and interact with all the items in the ship in the way that you'd expect in Skyrim or Fallout, which I think is a game changer. And whenever you're actually in the ships themselves and how you interact, it definitely gives me Star Citizen feels, which is a massive win. Star Citizen has a lot of problems, but one way that they excel is the interaction with the ship itself and the components inside the ship. And on top of that, because it's going to be purely like a single player experience, being able to hire people to manage different systems, having conversations and relationships with those people, and paying them for their services is just going to give you everything that you would want in a multiplayer Star Citizen experience, but in a single player game that gives you far more control and far more options without the limitations of the multiplayer feature set or dealing with other players. And another big win to the single player aspect of the game is simply taking ships, like salvaging them, stealing them, breaking them down for their components, just robbing somebody blind of their ship, and now it's just simply a part of your fleet, and you can completely break it down and customize it or sell it or do what you want. Those are things you can't really do easily in a multiplayer game because people are just going to be out there fencing other players' ships. But in a single player game, you're completely good to go. And how that's going to work with the different reputations of the factions that are in the system, there's so much possibility here. When they showed the space combat, initially I was a little worried because you could actually do some looting from inside the cockpit whenever you blow up another ship. But they did show that, yeah, you can disable the systems of the enemy ships and actually board them and engage in first-person combat. Again, this has given me some serious Star Citizen vibes, but in Star Citizen, it never works smoothly at all. It's always a laggy, janky mess, and it's what we truly want from that game. But Starfield is going to be able to provide that for us in the interim in a single-player environment. Not only that, but you're going to have these like Fallout perk systems, so you're going to be able to customize how you can actually engage and fight those ships. And it looks like if you had a certain talent similar to Fallout, you can actually use the VAT system to specifically target systems of enemy ships to disengage or to give you a better chance of winning the battle. Another nice touch from Starfield is it really does seem like you're going to be playing Fallout in space because there's plenty of first-person shooter gameplay, but they definitely showed off some melee combat. Whenever I end up playing these games, I always gravitate towards melee because of how stupid and goofy it can be at times. And then I also find in the end game, it ends up just being incredibly OP because of the talents that are there that's available to the players to make the melee feel just as fun as the first-person shooter combat. Like Fallout New Vegas, I always went for the shish kebab. Fallout 3, I did a similar build. So, and even in Cyberpunk 2077, I went for melee over firearms just because I think it's just sometimes it can be a little stupid. So it's good to see that even in this super advanced space game, melee combat will be there with Fallout style talents. Now moving back to whenever you land on some planets, it really does look like they've taken, again, inspiration from No Man's Sky. You land on a planetary surface or a lunar surface, you have your scanner, you're going to be able to check out the fauna, the animals, and the resources with a laser tool to collect those resources. So again, they're not really reinventing the wheel here. They're certainly borrowing ideas from other games here. And on top of that, whenever you bring out your scanner, again, you're going to be able to see places of interest. For example, outposts that are going to have enemies that are hanging out that you're going to be able to fight and loot, and also NPCs that might have some quests or things to do. So very similar to the No Man's Sky idea, but with the Bethesda Fallout Skyrim flavor. At the end of the day, Starfield right now certainly feels like it's going to be a combination between two of my favorite space games and one of my favorite gaming franchises, which is Fallout. And that's why I'm so excited for it. And I'm willing to be optimistic and excited rather than be pessimistic and remind myself that the last game Bethesda released, which was Fallout 76, was pretty bad. I'd rather be really excited in the short term than be pessimistic now and pessimistic later if it doesn't meet my expectations. Why waste all this time being depressed and sad about a game that isn't even out yet if it isn't even bad? You know what I mean? I'm seeing that everywhere. It's like, oh, it's fucking bad. You know, Starfield's gonna suck. Fallout 76, Fallout 4. You know, this seems really like a combination of some of my favorite games. My two favorite space games, which is No Man's Sky and Star Citizen, with one of my favorite gaming franchises, which is Fallout. You get the cockpit, the walking around the ships, the level of detail and the space combat that you'd see in something like Star Citizen, with the planetary exploration, the procedural generation, and the scale of what you'd expect in a game like No Man's Sky. And for that reason, that is why I am top tier excited for this game, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it and stream it a lot on my Twitch channel and make some videos on YouTube about Starfield. So I'm eager to hear what you guys have to say about Starfield in the comment section below. And if you are new here, maybe consider subscribing. Might check out some Starfield videos in a couple of months or on my live stream at twitch.tv/DeliSlob. Thanks again for watching, guys. I just wanted to, I just wanted to explain why I'm excited for this game, why I'm going to be playing it, and why I'm hopeful that it actually has a kick-ass launch. Have a good one, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.